Hi and welcome to Reddit Confessions. If you're new here, buckle up. Today's story starts not with a wedding or a memory, but with a laugh. Not a joyful laugh. Not one shared between two people who used to love each other. No, this was a laugh that chilled me. The kind of laugh that makes you realize someone you thought you knew is already gone. I was standing in the hallway holding a small bowl of soup. Chicken noodle. Homemade. It was raining outside. She had a cold. I had just come back from the store after midnight because she said we were out of the good tissues. I knocked on the bedroom door, gently, and said, "Hey, I brought you something." She didn't answer. I heard the laugh instead. I wish I could describe it better, but it was light, flirtatious, sharp, and it wasn't for me. The door was cracked, just barely. I leaned in, thinking maybe she was on the phone with her sister. But what I heard made the hairs on my arms stand up. "Please, Curtis? He's harmless. He lives to serve. His whole identity is, what do you need, babe?" It's like dating a golden retriever that pays bills. Silence. Then another laugh, hers. Then his. A man's voice. I didn't push the door open. I didn't make a sound. I just stood there, my arms shaking from the heat of the soup, or maybe from the cold in her words. I went back downstairs and poured the bowl down the drain. That was 4 days ago. I haven't said anything. Haven't confronted her. I've just been quiet, watching, listening. And in that silence, I've been cataloging every little moment I ignored. The locked phone she used to leave face up on the kitchen counter. The overnight marketing retreats that always popped up with 24 hours notice. The sudden interest in Pilates and Tuesday night wine tastings. And then yesterday, in a moment I still can't shake, she looked at me while brushing her teeth and said, totally unprompted, "You always look like you're waiting for permission to be alive. You know that?" I didn't know what to say, so I asked, quietly, "Do you even care if I'm happy?" She paused. Not long, just enough to let me hope. Then shrugged and said, "Your happiness isn't my problem." Just like that. Like she was talking about trash day or the weather. And the weirdest part? She didn't say it to hurt me. She said it like it was a fact. Like the sky is blue. Water is wet. My happiness? Not her problem. And for the first time in my marriage, I believed her. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the back porch with a blanket and our dog, Fig. He curled up beside me while I stared out into the dark. Wondering how long I'd been living as a side character in a story I thought we were writing together. She's not cheating. Not yet. Or maybe she is. I don't know. But what I do know is this. I've spent years putting her first. Putting everything second to keep her comfortable. And now I'm done. The morning after she told me my happiness wasn't her problem, something inside me shifted. Not explosively. Not loudly. It was more like when the tide pulls back far enough, and you realize it's not peace, it's the warning before the wave. I didn't say anything to her. I made coffee, fed Fig, sat at the table and just watched her walk past me without looking up, wearing that oversized brown cardigan she always wore when she wanted to seem softer than she really was. I'd spent years reading her like scripture. Now I saw it for what it was, performance. Layers of curated warmth to cover a soul that hadn't looked in my direction in what felt like a lifetime. She left the house by 8:05, like clockwork. I heard her heels clicking across the hallway floor, the door shutting, the beep of her car unlocking. Then silence. That silence used to hurt. Now it felt like a beginning. I opened her drawer. Not to invade her privacy, I know, maybe that's not a good defense, but I wasn't looking to find anything. I just needed to understand. I needed something that made sense. Instead, I found the exact opposite. There was a folded napkin with a lipstick kiss. A real napkin. From some rooftop restaurant we've never been to. A hotel keycard with no branding. And an envelope. One of those thick, fancy ones with the wax seal half broken like it was opened in a hurry. I almost didn't open it. Almost. Inside was a note. Just one line. Written in bold, unashamed handwriting. "Next time, wear that black dress. He deserves the full show." I sat down. Hard. My knees buckled before my emotions did. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but I didn't. I just sat there, the envelope shaking in my hand, thinking about how many black dresses she owned, thinking about which one it might have been, thinking about all the times she came home late, smiling at her phone, slipping off her heels with a little sigh like she'd had a long, respectable day. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But mostly I wanted to disappear. So I did. I packed a small bag. Just essentials. I didn't plan to leave for good, at least not yet. I didn't know what I was doing, only that I needed to do something. I left a sticky note on the counter that read, "Taking a few days for myself." That was it. No drama. No confrontation. Just space. I drove to the edge of town, checked into a cheap motel, and sat on the sagging mattress, staring at the water stains on the ceiling. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake with every memory on repeat. Every anniversary. Every "I love you." Every Sunday morning pancake breakfast we shared. Now recontextualized into some cruel joke I didn't know I was part of. She didn't call. Not that day. Not the next. I waited. I checked my phone obsessively, telling myself I didn't care, but caring anyway. On day 3, she finally texted, "Did you take the charger from my nightstand? No, where are you? No, are you okay? No, I miss you. Just a charger." That told me everything. And so I replied, "No, but I left your soul exactly where I found it, untouched." I turned off my phone. It was the first time in years that I chose silence not as an act of defeat, but as self-defense. And as I lay there, with the hum of the broken motel, a sea and the muffled sounds of strangers arguing next door, I realized something chilling. She wasn't worried because she believed I'd come crawling back. She thought she had me trained, predictable, passive, safe. But something in me was breaking out of that mold. Something was waking up. 3 days passed before I stepped foot back into the house. Not because I missed it or her, but because I needed to see it all with new eyes. I had learned more about my marriage in 72 hours away than I had in 17 years inside it. I no longer wanted answers from her. I wanted the truth on my terms. That was the difference. I wasn't begging for breadcrumbs anymore. I was collecting evidence. The house smelled like her when I walked in. Lemongrass and sandalwood. She'd replaced the entryway diffuser recently. One of those tiny details I normally would have complimented. Not this time. The scent only made me nauseous. It felt like she was trying to cover something foul with expensive oils. She wasn't home. Of course. Her car was gone. And so was the bright green gym bag she always took to Pilates. I opened the fridge and found 2 half-drunk bottles of white wine. Her go-to drink when she was stressed. She'd been stressed a lot lately, apparently. I checked the trash, 2 takeout containers, both for dishes I hated. Meaning she didn't dine alone. But what really got me was the bathroom sink. On her side, the ceramic was dusted with a shimmer. Faint highlighter, sparkly enough to catch the light. She'd gone out looking flawless. Not for a yoga mat. Not for me. I opened our shared closet and found that black dress. The one I saw mentioned in the note. Hanging front and center, dry cleaned, freshly pressed. Like it was ready for its next performance. That's what it was now, performance. And I had played the fool for far too long. I needed something more than circumstantial pieces. I needed certainty. I needed to hear it with my own ears. See it with my own eyes. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I installed 2 small voice-activated recorders. One in the living room behind the bookshelf and one inside the vent in our bedroom. I hated myself for it. But I hated being lied to more. The next day I left again. I made sure she knew. I left the same note. Taking space. That was all it took. She was never subtle when she thought I was gone. 2 days later I came back quietly, just before midnight. The house was dark. I slipped into my office, turned on the computer, and uploaded the audio. I didn't even get through the first 10 minutes before my chest started closing in. Her voice was bright, excited, animated in a way I hadn't heard in years. "He's gone again," said he needed to think. "He doesn't get it, does he? I'm already gone." Then a man's voice. "You keep saying you're going to end it." Her laugh. "Too long. Too relaxed. Why would I? He still pays for everything. I get this nice house, your company, and a loyal doormat all in one. Honestly, I feel kind of bad sometimes. But then he talks and it goes away. My heart pounded in my ears. My teeth clenched. It wasn't just betrayal. It was contempt. She didn't just fall out of love. She looked down on me like I was some pathetic old coat she kept around out of guilt. She didn't just lie to me. She mocked me. The man's voice again, more hesitant this time. Aren't you scared he'll find out? Her voice, almost amused. Find out what? That I have a life outside of his sad little emotional sponge routine? He won't do anything. He never does. He just sulks, writes in his journal, maybe cries in the bathroom. He's not a threat. He's not a man. That last sentence, it split something in me. She didn't see me as a partner. She saw me as a ghost with a credit card. Someone to tolerate until something better came along. I sat in the dark for a long time, staring at nothing, the screen glowing dimly behind me. Then I reached for a pen. I didn't know what I was going to write yet, but I knew it wasn't going to be poetry. I was done being quiet, done being safe. If she wanted to see what happened when I stopped putting her first, then I was going to show her. Calmly, carefully, and with precision. She forgot I watched, that I listened, that I remembered everything. And now, I had started planning. The plan didn't form all at once. It came to me the way fog creeps in after sunset. Slow, deliberate, barely noticeable until it's everywhere. I wasn't out for revenge. I wasn't looking to humiliate her, or explode our marriage in a ball of fire. I just wanted one thing, for her to feel seen. Not by me, I'd done that for years. No, this time I wanted everyone else to see what I'd seen. I wanted the curtain pulled back on the role she'd been playing so confidently for so long. I began with the smallest of gestures. I told her I was going to visit my brother in Vermont for the weekend. She barely looked up from her phone when I said it. Just gave a tired little nod and muttered, "Okay, cool. No questions. No curiosity. Not even a fake, be safe." She was already in the mindset of a woman who believed she had nothing left to lose. What she didn't know was that I never left the city. Instead, I booked a room at a hotel 10 minutes away and used the time to observe. Not stalk, not sabotage, but to quietly collect moments she thought I was too weak or oblivious to notice. I called it my mirror project. Every time she painted a version of her life for someone else, I was building the reflection she refused to see. I had a buddy, Mark, who owed me more than a few favors. He's the kind of guy who can quietly follow someone without setting off alarms. He's also the kind of guy my wife had never met. While I was out of town, Mark trailed her just enough to confirm what I already knew. The gym was a cover. The real destination was a townhouse across the river. The man she visited there, same voice from the recordings, was named Colin. 40-something, smug smile, custom suits, and apparently, a collector of emotionally unavailable women. Mark sent me photos. Nothing explicit, just enough. Her walking into the townhouse with 2 coffees. Her exiting 3 hours later, hair tousled, sunglasses on. A grin she hadn't worn around me in years. One night, she even brought wine. It was the same brand we'd shared on our 5th anniversary. That one stung. But it also clarified something. She didn't just betray me. She recycled our memories, repurposed our shared rituals for someone else. That was the line for me, so I set the next phase in motion. I hosted a dinner. Nothing big, just 6 people. Her sister, my cousin, 2 mutual friends, and our next-door neighbors. I told her I wanted to reconnect, that I'd been feeling distant lately. And she agreed, with the same vague disinterest she always gave me. "Sure," she said. "Just don't make it weird." Cooked, cleaned. I made her favorite risotto. She wore a low-cut emerald blouse and that fake smile she always pulled out when she wanted people to believe we were still a team. She played the role of the charming wife so well that I almost believed it myself, until I remembered the voice recorder sitting silently under the couch. The conversation that night was normal. Too normal. Until dessert. That's when I made my move. I stood up, glass of wine in hand, and said, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It means a lot, especially after everything Melanie and I have been through recently. The room went still. Her fork paused midair. I smiled politely. You know, marriage is strange. You spend years thinking love is about grand gestures, flowers, anniversaries, vacations. But sometimes love looks like showing up, like listening, like staying. Her face paled. And sometimes, I continued, you give everything to someone, only to hear that your happiness isn't their concern, that you're harmless, that you're a joke. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a small speaker, and pressed play. Just 30 seconds. Just enough. Honestly, I feel kind of bad sometimes. But then he talks and it goes away. He's not a threat. He's not a man. The room went dead. I turned it off. No one moved. Her sister's eyes were wide. My cousin looked like he might throw up. Melanie stared at me like I'd become a stranger in front of her. Maybe I had. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't say another word. I just walked into the kitchen, grabbed my keys, and left. No drama. No final speech. I wanted her to sit in that silence. The same kind of silence she'd given me every day for years. I drove back to the hotel, lay on the bed fully clothed, and felt something I hadn't felt in ages. Peace. Because in that moment, she wasn't the only one who had a story to tell. And mine was just getting started. I didn't go home that night, or the next. I stayed at the hotel, ignored her texts, and left every call unanswered. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I needed her to sit in it. In the shame, in the consequence, in the eerie stillness that follows the kind of storm you never saw coming. The messages started simple. We need to talk. Then, you completely humiliated me in front of my sister. And finally, what do you even want from me, Elwood? That last one made me laugh out loud. It was the same tone she used when asking where the TV remote was. Flat. Bored. Like I was just another inconvenience to sort out between her social calendar and her secret rendezvous with Mr. Suits and tousled hair. On the third day, she showed up at the hotel. She banged on the door like she owned the place. Like she still owned me. When I opened it, she looked tired. Not puffy-eyed or tear-stained. Just annoyed. Like I was forcing her to deal with something she didn't have time for. Can we talk? She snapped. I didn't invite her in. I just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She scoffed, glanced over her shoulder like she was embarrassed to be seen here. What was that? At the dinner? Some kind of public revenge stunt? Truth, I said calmly. It was the truth. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Elwood. That recording? That was a joke. You don't even understand context. I was venting. You're so sensitive. There it was. The classic deflection. I'd spent years being called too emotional, too fragile, too passive. She weaponized my gentleness like it was something shameful. But this time, I wasn't playing the role she'd cast me in. I get it now, I told her, voice steady. You didn't want a partner. You wanted a silent audience. She looked startled for a second, just a flicker, then quickly buried it beneath that smirk she always used when cornered. You seriously think you're the victim here? She laughed bitterly. You let this marriage get boring. You let yourself disappear. Maybe, I said, but you helped me vanish. And now that I'm visible again, you're panicking. That hit something. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. But I wasn't finished. I spent years giving you the best parts of me. Quietly, without demand. You used that kindness like a doormat, then blamed me when your feet got dirty. Her arms folded tightly across her chest. So what now? You going to leave? Just walk away like some kind of martyr? No, I said. I'm not walking away. Her eyebrows lifted, confused. I already left. And with that, I closed the door. Not slammed, just closed. I stood on the other side, heart racing, hands shaking. Not from fear, but release. Because that was the moment I realized. I didn't need to scream to be strong. I didn't need to fight to win. I had already won the second I stopped trying to prove my worth to someone who never saw it. The next day, I called a lawyer. I didn't tell her. I didn't warn her. But I did have a new bank account opened. A fresh P.O. box registered under my name, and a storage unit where I'd quietly moved everything that mattered to me. Photographs, journals, the last working piece of my late mother's piano. She could keep the house. She could even keep the black dress. I was done building a kingdom for someone who always wanted to be queen of another man's castle. But the most shocking part? She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She simply texted me that night. So I guess this is it. Hope you find someone who's okay being boring with you. That text. It did something to me. It didn't break me. It cemented everything. She never really knew me. Never cared to. And now I was free. But the story wasn't over yet. Because what she didn't expect was what would come next. When everyone else started connecting the dots. I didn't expect anyone to care. Honestly, I assumed most people would stay out of it. Chalk it up to relationship drama and go on pretending they didn't see the cracks. That's how most people are, right? They glance over the fractures and tell themselves it's not their place to look closer. But the fallout from that dinner didn't settle quietly like I thought it might. It detonated slowly, invisibly, like a gas leak in a room full of matches. 3 days after I closed that door on her at the hotel, I got a message from her coworker. An email. Simple subject line. Hey, just wanted you to know. I almost didn't open it. But when I did, the contents shook me in a way I wasn't ready for. Elwood, I know this might be out of line, and I'm sorry if it is, but I saw how Melanie talked to you at the office party last spring, and I felt guilty ever since. You didn't deserve that. I didn't say anything then, but now that I know what's happened, you should probably know she's been with Colin for over a year. He's not her first, just the latest. There was more. Screenshots. Calendar entries forwarded from the company database. Reservations made under fake names. Names she told me belonged to clients when she took those overnight trips. There were receipts too. Hotel bookings, bar tabs. One even included a spa package for 2 labeled Anniversary Bliss Weekend. I stared at that screen for hours. My hands were cold, even in the warmth of the hotel room. I scrolled down to the bottom of the message, reading her coworker's final words over and over. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I think you're the only decent person in her life. That line broke me more than the proof, because it meant I wasn't crazy. I wasn't sensitive. I wasn't imagining the slow erosion of our connection. Other people had seen it, felt it, whispered about it behind closed doors. And no one told me. I was the last to know in my own marriage. The next morning I checked my P.O. box. There was an envelope from the bank. Melanie had attempted to move funds from our joint account. Quietly, of course. But she'd made the mistake of using an outdated authorization code. The bank flagged it and notified me immediately. She tried to pull $9,000 into her private account. I didn't tell her she failed. I didn't tell her I knew. I let her think she was smarter. It helped me understand how far she'd been planning to go. She wasn't just cheating. She was preparing for a clean escape with assets. And still, she didn't reach out. No apology. No explanation. Just more silence. Until my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me answer. A man's voice. Nervous. Hesitant. Elwood, he said. You don't know me. My name is Bennett. I used to work with your wife. A few years ago. I just found out what happened. And I think you deserve to know I was where Colin is now. I was her Pilates guy. She told me she was stuck in a cold marriage, that you were controlling, that you didn't want her to grow. My throat tightened. She lied to me, he continued. I found out the truth months later. I ended it when I realized she was never going to leave you. She just liked having someone else on the hook. I wanted to come clean then, but I figured, what's the point? You probably knew. I guess I was wrong. He sounded sincere, regretful, and honestly, it didn't even matter anymore. The betrayal wasn't isolated. It wasn't even about one man or one affair. It was a pattern, a game, and I had been the board. I thanked him, told him I appreciated the honesty, then hung up and stared at my reflection in the mirror above the desk. My eyes looked older. my face a little thinner. But something else had changed too. There was strength now. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. She'd spent so long counting on me being quiet, being passive, being weak. But I wasn't that man anymore. So I called my lawyer. I gave him the full story. The receipts. The voice recordings. The email thread. The attempted theft. The affairs. He said the words I'd been waiting to hear for weeks. This divorce will not go in her favor. And for the first time in forever, I felt something close to peace. But this story wasn't done yet. Because when Melanie finally found out that her game was up, her reaction wasn't tears or rage. It was something far more disturbing. She smiled. She showed up at my lawyer's office unannounced. That's how I found out she knew. Not through a message. Not through a phone call. Not even a rage-fueled confrontation in a parking lot. No. She walked right into the marble-tiled lobby like she owned the building, asked for my attorney by name, and told the receptionist she just wanted to clarify a few things regarding the upcoming paperwork. It was my attorney who called me after. She was calm, he said. Too calm. Told me she wasn't surprised. Said she was disappointed in the theatrics. Theatrics. That word hung in the air long after I ended the call. Like I'd written some kind of twisted play and she was simply a misunderstood actress in the wrong role. But that wasn't what stuck with me. It was what he said next that chilled me. She smiled the entire time. Never raised her voice. Just smiled. That wasn't normal. I'd seen Melanie angry. I'd seen her bored. I'd even seen her quietly cruel. But smiling in the middle of a legal ambush? That wasn't indifference. That was calculation. And that's when I realized she wasn't planning to fight me. She was planning to flip the narrative. Within 2 days, I started getting calls from mutual acquaintances. People I hadn't heard from in months. One friend, Jordan, called and said, "Hey man, I don't want to take sides or anything, but I heard you're, being kind of aggressive about the whole split." Aggressive? I nearly dropped the phone. "What exactly did you hear?" I asked, my voice already tightening. "Well," he hesitated. "Melanie said you were spreading recordings around, trying to damage her career, that you ambushed her at dinner with edited audio, and that you're using fake financial claims to trap her in a bad settlement." I could barely respond. Fake financial claims? She was trying to turn me into the villain, the unstable ex, the bitter husband weaponizing tech and manipulation to destroy her. And to be honest, it wasn't hard for people to believe. I'd always been the quiet one, the behind-the-scenes guy. Most people barely knew I had opinions, let alone a backbone. And that was exactly the story she was spinning. It only got worse. She posted a message on her private social media account, the one she only used with her professional circles. It wasn't direct, of course. It was vague, syrupy, and perfectly toxic. It's heartbreaking when someone you once loved chooses bitterness over growth. I'll never regret choosing myself, even if it makes me the villain in someone else's story. Overnight, I became the man who couldn't handle a strong, independent woman reclaiming her freedom. People I used to share dinners with were now reposting inspirational quotes about narcissists and emotionally abusive husbands. I saw my own habits, my silence, my note-taking, my time alone at the lake, twisted into red flags. People were connecting dots she'd handed them. And the worst part? I had proof. I had the recordings, the documents, the timelines. But if I shared them, I'd become what she claimed I already was. So I did the only thing I could think of. I stayed silent. I stopped responding to friends who reached out just to hear my side. I stopped explaining. I stopped defending. Instead, I leaned on my lawyer, on the paper trail, on the quiet truth that didn't need to shout to be real. But inside, I was burning. Because while I held on to dignity, she built a new reality where she was the survivor, and I was the storm she escaped. Then came the final blow. She sent me a message at 3:12 a.m. Just one sentence. "You don't realize what I'm capable of, Elwood." No emoji. No context. Nothing. I stared at it for a long time. I wasn't scared. Not in the way she probably intended. But I was shaken. Because that message wasn't for conversation. It was a line in the sand. It was a reminder that she didn't need to be right. She just needed to look right long enough to wear me down. But what she didn't know was that I'd already made one final move. Something private. Something irreversible. And in part 8, I'll tell you exactly what that was. Let's just say, she smiled too soon. The morning I left the hotel for the last time, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry either. I felt clean, like stepping out of a room full of smoke and realizing how long I'd been coughing without even noticing. I loaded the last of my things into the back of my car and looked in the rearview mirror. Not at the hotel, not at the city skyline, at myself. And for once, I recognized the man looking back. But let's rewind just a little. Because before the dust truly settled, there was one final card to play. One I kept hidden even from my lawyer. It was a letter, not to her but to me. I wrote it during my first week at the hotel, on one of those nights where sleep refused to show up and the silence felt like it had teeth. It started as a journal entry, then a list, then something more. It became a commitment, a declaration, a boundary. I will never again pour myself into someone who treats my presence like background noise. I will not shrink to keep the peace. I will not chase people who are walking away. I am not broken, I was just badly handled. And I choose myself now, fully, quietly, and without apology. I printed it, signed it, and then I mailed a copy to my own apartment, my new apartment. Small, sunlit, and completely mine. A space with no echoes of her voice. No lingering perfume in the pillows. Just Fig, yes, I got to keep the dog, a second-hand couch, and peace I never realized I could afford. As for the divorce, finalized. Clean cut. No financial tricks. No drawn-out court theatrics. Her attempts to paint me as unstable fell flat when the evidence came forward. Timelines, recordings, bank documents, testimonies from people who eventually saw through the performance. In the end, she walked away not with a win, but with a silence she never expected. And that silence has been beautiful. I've started hiking again. I've picked up guitar. I even joined a small book club where people ask how I feel about things instead of treating me like a living extension of their own needs. And most importantly, I've stopped apologizing for being soft. Because being soft didn't make me weak. It made me human. She said my happiness wasn't her problem. She was right. It never should have been her responsibility to begin with. That was always my job. And now I'm doing it right. If you've made it this far, thank you. I truly mean that. Now it's your turn. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone showed you who they really were, and it changed everything? Drop your story in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This has been Reddit Confessions, where the truth always finds a voice.